Hey guys, what's going on? This is Pantsar Dragon, and today we'll be doing the mid-tier list for patch 5.6. Now, obviously, not much has changed since the last patch, except for maybe an Athene's buff, but that doesn't change what champions are being played in the mid right now. But there have been a ton of champions being played in the mid lane, so I do want to list a bunch of honorable mentions or viable picks. And also, I did talk to someone named KT Smurf, who has 1000 LP and is a mid laner, so he gave me his top 5. And let's be honest here, I do have my opinions, but he mains mid and is higher LP than me. And with all that being said, let's get started. So since he didn't give me a specific order, I'll be ordering them myself, and at number 5 is going to be Cassiopeia. So why do I feel she's strong right now? Well, I just feel like she's a super hard carry in team fights, especially if she survives the initial burst coming from the enemy team or the initiation, as she's basically an AD carry but more of a magic damage version. And she does have pretty good protection coming from Xerath's Embrace, and of course her E giving her health, and her damage is really good too. And if the enemy does go on her, she does have her ultimate to counter initiate onto them. Once you get super late game, have a bunch of ability power, having that 500 stacks on your passive, and maybe some resist, you'll become literally a god. People can still burst you, but no one can 1v1 you. No one can go in front of you, or they die. She does have some problems like her mana cost. Definitely you have to be more careful with your mana when using it, and she is a short range mage, so she'll be a little bit upfront and be vulnerable to CC and burst damage. Next up at number 4 is going to be Zed. Now obviously he's a really good assassin at taking out people or even split pushing and 1v1ing. He does have a pretty good laning phase as he does rely on energy and he can last hit safely with his Q. And usually when he does ult onto someone, most times he will get that kill since it is pretty hard to get away from him. And I definitely did not think about this, but whenever Zed is on the other team, it'll always force your AD carry to buy QSS, which does cost a pretty good amount of gold, so it kind of does force him to delay his build a bit. And obviously magic resist doesn't do anything against Zed, but it does remove the death mark, so it kind of sucks, but Zed will still zone your AD carries away from the team fight, and he's pretty safe since he can warp to his clones or juke somehow out of the team fight and not die himself. Next up we do have the King of Sieging Xerath. So why do I feel like he's better than Zed? Zed is obviously better at killing people and split pushing, but Xerath, this guy has really long range. If he has a front line to protect him, that means he can poke the enemy before the team fight even starts. Let's say you're going to contest Dragon and there's a little dancing between the two teams. Xerath can poke the enemy with his Q and W, and now the enemy is chunked, so they have to back away from that objective. Of course, if the enemy team does hard engage onto Xerath, it's pretty hard for him to get away unless he has flash up. And as Xerath, you usually want to poke the enemy before you team fight, otherwise he's not as impactful in team fights as say someone like Ahri. And again, let's say you're sieging onto the enemy team at their tower, toss a bunch of Qs, maybe use your ult, and now they have to back off because they're kind of low. And he does scale really good into the late game once he gets that Void Staff, can chunk even tanks now. Having a semi-global ultimate to clean up kills is also great too. And yeah, he's a pretty good champion. Obviously in lower ELOs, I feel like people will just team fight right away instead of letting Xerath poke. So he's more of a better pick when you get into higher ranks. So I wouldn't recommend him if you're like in silver or bronze or even gold. Next up at number 2 we do have Ahri. So why do I feel like Ahri is better than Xerath? Well, I feel like she is a mage slash assassin, so she's really good at poking, while also being able to kill people with her ultimate and charming people and locking them down. Her Q also allows her to have a really safe laning phase, as it's really hard to kill her when she does toss out that orb, since she can run to the tower pretty fast. Once she does turn level 6, she's unkillable in lane unless you have hard CC. And yeah, she's pretty good at sieging. She has her Q and E to catch people if they get hit by the skill shots. Obviously not as good as Xerath, but she does work. And she can catch people out and follow them for a really long time with her ultimate plus charm. She has gone through some nerfs of course, so her damage isn't as what it used to be, but she is still pretty good because of her kit. And finally at number 1 we still have LeBlanc. She did take a nerf to her ultimate, some of the AP ratios did get lowered a bit, but it's honestly not that big of a deal. And the reason why LeBlanc is number 1 is because of her incredible snowball potential, incredible laning potential and kill pressure onto the enemy, and getting picks around the map, so once you get those picks you can easily get objectives and just snowball your lead. And especially for say defending objectives, she can hide in a bush, and if the enemy comes that means they're gonna die, and since the enemy knows that, they won't bother face checking bushes since they know LeBlanc is in that area, and it's better not to risk dying to her and letting that objective go, so she does have objective control in a psychological way. and her distortion makes her really hard to kill as she can warp back to her original place, and she does have another distortion if she needs it from her ultimate. And yeah, she's pretty fast at what she does, so it's really hard to react to this champion. But she does have her cons. For instance, she's kind of bad at team fighting since it's kind of hard for her to get to her targets if there is a front line. Unless of course she is flanking, then it's pretty easy. And I feel like she does have a bad late game since a lot of other AP mids do outscale her. And she can't one-shot people anymore since people are probably building Banshee's Veil at that point. But other than that, her early game and mid game are really good. Next up, I'm going to be doing some honorable mentions, but there is a lot of champions that I feel are viable right now, but we won't be going in depth on them since there's so much. Katarina is really good with Luden's Echo. Urgot is really good against a lot of physical damage. Malzahar has a shit laning phase, but once he gets into the mid game and late game, he's super strong. Really good in Platinum and below. Twisted Fate has a semi-global ultimate, so he can go around the map and kill people and make picks. Annie got nerfed, but it was more to support Annie. She still has her AP ratios, so she's still good mid. Really good at wombo comboing and initiating team fights and basically winning off that initiation. Diana. I don't know. People have been using her in LCS. That's it. Karthus. LCS. Talon's good, but once you get into really high ELOs, everyone gets vision wards and, oracles to reveal him, so he's not that great once you get the counterplay. Ziggs, haven't seen him yet, reduced mana cost, Athene's buff, Sleeper decent at the moment, question mark. Victor has his E, which does a lot of damage. Also has other spells that do damage, but utility wise, Lissandra mid, really good at locking people down, has a lot of utility, and is really good at zoning the enemies away. Morgana mid, really easy to play, pretty safe, but I do think she's a better support. Cho'Gath mid, reason he's good is because of his incredibly high AP ratios, the free health coming from his ultimate, and he's one of the only few champions to still have a silence. Although his Q is a skill shot that you must hit, that's one of his main sources of damage. But there's also Ezreal mid, but I'm honestly not that fond of it, and I feel like it's only good in certain team comps, the tank comps. Anyways, these are all the mids I've been seeing recently in solo queue. There's probably a little bit more, but this is basically a handful of champions you can pick from. Hey guys, so thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this video, check out top 5 best AD carries for solo queue for patch 5.4, relatively the same. And then there's top 10 best junglers for solo queue, patch 5.6, which I'll be working on later. It won't be up right now. And then top 5 best top laners for solo queue for patch 5.5. And again, thank you guys for watching this video. I am Patrick Dragon, and I'll see you guys next time.